Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Yes. So I'll share my screen and we will go through the agenda for today. The good part is that we have reached our first milestone, as I sent the message yesterday in the group, that we will be finishing off with the introduction part of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, before we proceed, how many of you will be able to read today? If you can just raise your hands and give me an indication. Okay, Ivana Mataji has raised her hand. Shweta Mataji is there. Okay, no worries. So three of us, maybe I'll also contribute and, we can go start it. Thank you so much, Mataji. So what
Prabhuji,
time will...
I can
Yeah.
do it, but maybe around 5:30. After that, I may have some work, so I might drop at that
Okay, no
time.
worries, Mataji. No
So
worries.
until
Yeah,
that
as long as you
time,
are,
I'll be fine.
as long as you have, sure,
Yeah,
sure,
until
no
that
worries.
time, I'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. I was about to share my screen. Oh, here we go. And this is the agenda for today. Oh, sorry. Okay. Ignore the first page. I forgot to edit that. So as usual, this session is dedicated to my spiritual grandfather, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And of course, all the other previous acharyas of ISKCON, the Guru Parampara of ISKCON, and to my Siksha Gurus. Without their help and their guidance, I wouldn't have been here, basically. So this, and obviously my spiritual master, this particular session is dedicated for the pleasure of all of these personalities. And whatever I'm going to do, I will whatever I'm going to say here, I'll merely repeat what I have heard in the lectures of Srila Prabhupada, what I have read in the books of Prabhupada, and whatever I have learned from my Siksha Gurus, my spiritual master, and the Guru Parampara of ISKCON. So this is the agenda for today. We'll do Mangalacharan first. We'll invoke some auspiciousness by chanting some pranam mantras, and then we will finish off the introduction part of the Bhagavad Gita and question and answers as usual. So these are some of the topics of discussion today. So secret of attaining Krishna is further explained. So in the last session, we saw that what was the secret of attaining Krishna. Can anyone recall and repeat? What was the secret that we saw? Please came.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I
Yes.
can add 2 points. One is bhakti,
Yep.
and second is serving the Vaishnavas.
So what was the first one? Did you say, Mataji?
Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Your voice is breaking in between. So
Okay,
if you
now
can repeat the second one, I heard serving the Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna. Is it clear?
I think your voice is breaking.
Okay, I'll rejoin
Yeah,
then.
it's better now.
Okay. So I said that one is
Okay, sure.
knowing about the Krishna and doing chanting his name. Another is serving the Vaishnavas.
Mhm.
That's
Okay.
all.
Anyone else? I'm looking for one specific, secret thing that we studied in the last session, by which you can straight away go back home, back to Krishna. If you do that, that one thing.
Keep thinking about the Krishna and doing everything. When we are doing everything, we surrender it to Krishna.
Mhm. Yes. Close, we are close, Mataji. Others? Okay. So the secret is, I'll repeat once again, it's about, the secret is that we have to think about Krishna at the time of death. Okay. At the time of death, if we are able to think about Krishna's names, form, qualities, and pastimes, then immediately, like, we'll be transferred to the spiritual world without any further delay. Okay. So that is the secret. But then that is easier said than done, right? Because if we are too materially attached in this material world, okay, like my property, my house, my car, my kids, my spouse, my this, my that, then at the time of death also, like we'll be, we'll end up thinking about these things only and these people only. Okay, that मेरे जाने के बाद family का क्या होगा? And all these nonsensical questions will keep coming in our minds. Okay. So the reason why we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day and we stress so much on chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day, because once you develop this habit of chanting, like fixed number of rounds every day, slowly what will happen that you'll start, relishing the taste, relishing a particular taste in chanting. Okay, you will start deriving a nectar in chanting the names of Krishna. And then you will not stop there. That okay, I have to chant maybe four number of rounds, 6 rounds, 10 rounds, 8 rounds, whatever it is. You will not stop there. Slowly, what will happen that you will continuously start chanting this Maha Mantra in your mind, day in and day out. Okay, and that is the time when we can say, okay, we are somewhat ready. Like even if like at this moment death comes, then more often like. What to say, there's a quite likelihood that we will be thinking about Krishna at the time of death. And also, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he gives us the remembrance. If a devotee is continuously thinking about him and a devotee is continuously devoted, doing all kinds of devotional service unto him, then at the time of death, Krishna remembers him. Okay? If you remember Krishna as long as you are alive, Krishna will remember you at the time of death. Okay? So otherwise, it's like, for a materialist person who is too attached to all the material, you know, person, place, animal, things, whatever is there, for them, like death is like the pain at the time of death is like, 70,000 scorpions biting at the same time. And it's all because of the attachment that we have in this material world. For devotees, it's just like falling asleep. Okay, so this is the secret that you have to remember Krishna at the time of death, and immediately you will be transported back to home, back to Godhead. Okay, so now this secret we know now. Okay, but in this particular session, we will see a little more, some further explanation like how it can be done and what is Krishna's opinion about it. Okay, and how to think about Krishna constantly. Right, we know the secret now. How to execute that? So that is another thing. Then which is better, Dhyan Yoga or Bhakti Yoga? Okay, so a lot of yoga studios are coming up these days, okay, where they ask you to just sit at one place and just think of nothing. Okay, so we'll see how practical it is and which is better. Second is we will discuss about the qualities of Arjuna. Okay, like Arjun, we all know that he is the companion of Sri Krishna. He is a friend of Krishna and he's a very nice devotee of Krishna. But then why is Arjun Arjun? We know, right? We'll try to understand what were his qualities. And then position of Bhagavad Gita among all the Vedic literatures. So, which is known as Gita Mahatmya. We will see some of the verses of Gita Mahatmya, and with that, we will end the introduction part of the Bhagavad Gita today. Okay, so these were the agenda for today, and so now I'm going to chant some pranam mantras. Let's invoke some auspiciousness, and those who know can repeat after me while staying on mute. While uh, those who don't know, please try to listen to all these pranam mantras because listening is also very, very purifying. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम. All right, so I see some more people joining in. Ishita Mataji, Samanvita Mataji, and Vasavi Mataji. So, out of you three, how many of you will be able to read if I share the screen? Just raise your hands and give me an indication. Okay, Ishita Mataji is raising a hand. Vasavi Mataji is good, nice. Okay, so we have 4 or 5 people. So yeah, it won't take long before we finish this. And some very good realizations will be there, towards the end, like we are nearing the end of the introduction. So yes, let me share my screen once again and we can get started. Okay, so we will go in the alphabetical order. Bhashwati Mataji, if you can start, if you want, like
Sure,
first 2
Prabhuji.
paragraphs. Yeah, from here.
Okay. Okay, I'll start. Hare Krishna. The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. A man dies after it has been decided what form of body he will have in the next life. Higher authorities, not the living entity himself, make this decision. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is a preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this material body, we will attain a spiritual body just like the Lord's. As explained before, there are different kinds of transcendentalists: the Brahmavadi, Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. And as mentioned, in the Brahma Jyotir, which is the spiritual sky, there are innumerable spiritual planets. The number of these planets is far, far greater than all of the planets of this material world. This material world has been approximated as only 1/4 of the creation. Ekamashena sthito
Ekamsha,
jagat.
Ekamsh, yeah,
Ekamshana
Ekamshena Sthito Jagat.
Ekamshena sthito jagat. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes with trillions of planets and suns, stars, and moons. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. One who desires to merge into this existence of the Supreme Brahman is at once transferred to the Brahma Jyotir of the Supreme Lord and thus attains the spiritual sky. The devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets, which are innumerable, and the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion as Narayana, with 4 hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Govinda, associates with him there. Therefore, at the end of life, the transcendentalists think either of the Brahma Jyotir, the Paramatma, or the, can you go up? or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In all cases, they enter into the spiritual sky, but only the devotee or he who is in personal touch with the Supreme Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planets or the Golaka Vrindavan planet. The Lord further adds that of this there is no doubt. This must be believed firmly. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. Our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of me as Brahman or Paramatma or as the personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky. There is no doubt about it. There is no question of disbelieving it. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Okay. So some very important things to note here. So Srila Prabhupada speaks about different types of transcendentalists. Okay. One is the Brahmavadi, and then Paramatmavadi, and then the devotee. Okay. So, when we speak about personality of Godhead or Krishna, okay, so there are three aspects to him, and depending upon the spiritual maturity of the person who is practicing bhakti or maybe who is practicing dhyana yoga or any other form of spiritual practices they are doing, like Krishna reveals him to them, to that degree. Basically, that's what Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita. The degree to which one surrenders unto me, to that degree I reveal myself to them. Okay. So then there are three things you need to understand. First is the first aspect is the Brahma Jyoti aspect of Krishna, which is nothing but the effulgence of Krishna, the effulgence which is coming out of Krishna's body. Okay, and that effulgence is what actually enlightens the entire spiritual sky. We have seen in our previous sessions that during when I was giving a comparative account of this material world and the spiritual world, right? So at that time, we have seen that this material world is full of darkness, right? And we need some sources of illumination like sun, moon, stars, all these heavenly bodies which are there, right? So, um, yes, in the material world, we need these things. But in spiritual sky, basically, it is eternally, it is perpetually illuminated. Why? Because Krishna is present there personally in the planet called as Goloka Vrindavan. And from his personal effulgence, the entire spiritual sky is illuminated. Okay, so Brahma Jyoti is one aspect of Krishna, which is the personal effulgence of Krishna. Okay, second is the Paramatma. Now, when Krishna expands himself, there are innumerable expansions of Krishna. Okay, and when it comes to material world, Krishna enters as he expands himself as one form which is known as Shiro Dakshai Vishnu, right? And that form actually enters into each and every single atom in this material universe. Okay, so these are some technical things. Maybe if time permits, someday we can discuss about how this material world came into existence and how this process of creation takes place. But it has been very elaborately explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so if some of you are interested, then just start reading the Srimad Bhagavatam and you can ask questions to me personally as well. I'll be happy to answer. Okay, but for now, just understand that there is one expansion of Krishna which is known as Chiro Dakshai Vishnu. And that in that form, Krishna enters into each and every single atom, right? And that form itself, he is also present as a Paramatma in our hearts. Okay, the four-handed Paramatma form. So first aspect is the Brahma Jyoti, which is the spiritual effulgence of Krishna. The second aspect is the Paramatma, localized Paramatma in the heart of every living entity. Okay, doesn't mean that he is present only in the human bodies. Okay, he is present everywhere, even in the body of like microscopic organisms. Okay, so that is the Paramatma aspect. And third is the Bhagwan, which is nothing but non-different from Krishna, Krishna's personal presence. Okay, Bhagwan. So then three types of transcendentalists are there. So who realize Krishna in different degrees. Okay, so a devotee basically realizes in the Bhagwan aspect of Krishna. Okay, and that is the reason why he is. Devotee like devotees, they are allowed to enter into the Vaikuntha planets. Okay, like if, for example, if there is a yogi who is practicing dhyana yoga or ashtanga yoga, as we say it, so generally what they do is their fate is that they like merge into the Brahmajyoti of Krishna. Okay. So when we talk about liberation, there are 5 types of liberations. Okay. So this is something, a detailed thing, which I'm going to give now. So first is the Sayujya Mukti. So Sayuji Mukti means merging into the effulgence of Krishna, which most of the impersonal people who worship the impersonal form of Krishna or the Dhyan yogis, they go and merge into the effulgence, personal effulgence of Krishna, and that is known as the Sayuji Mukti. But this kind of mukti is not very appreciated by the devotees, among the devotees, because devotees are never satisfied. When you merge into the personal effulgence of Krishna, then there is nothing much you can do there, right? You will be just entering into, as a spirit soul, you will just enter into the spiritual sky. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets, but you will not be allowed to enter into any of those Vaikuntha planets. You will be simply traveling in the spiritual sky, although that is also a state of bliss, okay? But the problem with this thing is that as spirit soul is very active by nature, okay? It's a part and parcel of Krishna, and it is very active by nature. Okay, so it just cannot stay in one place. And we have seen that, like, even like in this material world, also we see that during the COVID times when the lockdown was imposed all around the world, how many people were they were just craving to go out, right? It was very difficult for them to remain seated for the whole day in maybe confined to their homes or wherever they were. Correct. So why? Because by nature, the spirit soul is very active. It needs some activity. It needs to do something. Okay? And the nature of the spirit soul is also to serve, right? So spirit soul, by its original nature, it's trying to hanker. It has this hankering for the service towards Krishna. Okay. So when you are just hanging around in a spiritual sky doing nothing, so that is it becomes very boring for that spirit soul. And over a period of time, they get bored, and then they are again attracted by Maya, and they again come down here in the material world. They fall down again. So there is every likelihood of them falling back again into the material world, actually. Okay, so this Sayuji Mukti, or merging with the effulgence of Krishna, is not something which is desirable by the devotees. Okay, so devotees of Krishna, maybe in the actual devotees of Krishna who truly love Krishna, okay, with all their hearts, they don't even ask for liberation. They say that, okay, as long as I'm serving you, Krishna, I'm happy even in this material world. Okay, they don't hanker. But Krishna is so kind that he actually gives them another 4 kinds of liberations, according to the choice of that devotee or the mood of service of that devotee. What are the remaining 4? One is known as Salokya Mukti. Okay, that means residing in the same planet as Krishna. Okay, either at Golok Vrindavan or any of the Vaikuntha planets. So a devotee, first thing, he or she is allowed to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, unlike the impersonalists who were just roaming around in the spiritual sky. Okay. Second, Sarishti Mukti. That means having the same opulence as that of Lord. Now, wherever Krishna is there, goddess of fortune follows, right? Srimati Radharani is the original eternal mother, right? And all the Lakshmis, goddesses of fortunes, are basically expansions of Srimati Radharani. Okay, so wherever Krishna is there, needless to say, opulence will be there. Okay, so now if you are residing the same planet as Krishna, then and serving Krishna, obviously that opulence will be associated with you as well, right? So you will become Sarishti Mukti is also there. That means same opulence as the Lord. Third is Sarupya Mukti, same bodily features as the Lord. If you all can recall, like in the first session when I was sharing a slide, it was showing an artist's impression about the Vaikuntha planet. Okay, you must have seen that all the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, they looked exactly like Narayan. Okay, the same bluish complexion, 4 hands, and each of the hands are holding Shankh, Chakra, Gada, and lotus flower, right? So they look exactly same. Okay, so that is us having same bodily feature as the Lord Himself. Okay, so that is known as Sarupya Mukti. And last but not the least, which is very much desired by all the devotees, is a Samipya Mukti. That means to be Lord, right? To serve Him personally. Okay, so these are the 5 types of liberations I spoke about, and this is what is explained here. Because this is the introduction part, so it has just been summarized. But yes, this is the whole maybe crux of all this. And There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets, as it has been mentioned here, and there are different forms of Narayana there. And according to our mood, or according to like the kind of bhakti that we perform, okay, the devotees are basically sent to any of these Vaikuntha planets. Also, according to our attachment with a particular form of Krishna, okay, like some people are very attached to Narsim form, okay, so maybe they will be sent to a planet where Narsim Dev is the presiding deity. They can have his personal association. Some people are very much attracted towards Lord Ramchandra, so they can be promoted to Saket Dham or Ayodhya, right, where they can have personal association of Lord Sri Ramchandra. But here at ISKCON, like we generally, we are hankering to get association of the original Krishna, the two-handed form of Krishna who plays the flute and performs eternal pastimes with Srimati Radharani. And that is the reason at ISKCON, or we generally worship the Yugal Kishore, okay, the eternal youthful form of Sri Radha and Krishna, so that at the time of death we are able to think about them, and once we quit our body, we can get the entry into the Golok Vrindavan. Okay, so this is the whole like summarization of this particular paragraph. So we can move on. Who can read next? Ivana Mataji, if you can read next from this line here, maybe next two paragraphs.
Yes, Prabhuji. The Bhagavad Gita 8.6 also explains the general principle that makes it possible to enter the spiritual kingdom simply by thinking of the Supreme Lord at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tyajate ante
Ante. Okay, let me help you
kalevaram.
out, Mataji here. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Yeah, त्यजत अन्ते कलेवरम तम तमेवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भाव भावितः. Yes.
Whatever state of being
We can't hear you, Mataji. Is it just me or everyone else?
I too can't hear.
not able to hear.
Yeah, I think we lost her. Okay, no worries. Okay, Ishita Mataji, can you start? Maybe once Ivana Mataji is back, you can give her another chance. Yeah,
Sure.
from here.
Sure. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his present body, in his next life, he will attain to that state without fail. Now, first we must understand that material nature is display of one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. In the Vishnu Puran 6.7.61, the total energies of Supreme Lord are delineate, sorry, delineated. Please help me with the pronunciation. Deline,
Yeah.
okay. Mentioned.
Delineated.
Delineated.
Shall I read it out, Mataji? The shloka?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetragyakya Tatha Para Avidya Karma Samajnana Tiya Shaktir Ishyate.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The Supreme Lord has diverse and innumerable energies which are beyond our conception. However, great learned sages or liberated souls have studied these energies and have analyzed them into three parts. All of the energies are Vishnu Shakti, that is to say, they are different potencies of Lord Vishnu. The first energy is paratranscendental.
Para.
Paratranscendental.
living entities also belong to the superior energy and has already been explained. The other energies or the material energies are in the mode of ignorance. At the time of death, either we can remain in the inferior energy of the material world, or we can transfer the energy to of the spiritual world. So the Bhagavad Gita 8.6 says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam
Kalevaram.
kalevaram tam tam evaiti
Evaiti.
konteya. Prabhuji, help me again. Tam tam
Evaiti
evaiti
Konteya.
konteya
Yeah.
sada tat bhava bhavita.
Hmm.
Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his present body, in his next life he will attain to the state without fail. In life, we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or the spiritual energy. Now, how can we transfer our thoughts from material energy to the spiritual energy? There are so many literatures which fill our thoughts with the material energy, newspapers, magazines, novels, etc. Our thinking, which is now absorbed in these literatures, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as Puranas. The Puranas are not imaginative, they are historical records. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 20.122, there is a following verse: Maya Mugdha Jivera Nahi Swata Krishna Janana Jivere Kripaya
Krishna Jnana.
Krishna Jnana Jivere Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Purana. The forgetful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord, and they are engrossed in thinking of material activities just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky. Krishna
Vipayana.
Dvapayana Vyasa Krishna Dvapayana Vyasa has given a great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Vedas into 4 parts. Then he explained them in the Puranas. And for less capable people, he wrote Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is given the Bhagavad Gita. Then all Vedic literature is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra. And for future guidance, he gave the natural commentation of Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. We must always engage our minds in reading these Vedic literatures. Just as materialistics engage their minds in reading the newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures, we must transfer our reading to these literatures, which are given to us by Vyasadeva.
Vyasadeva.
In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of the death. That is the only way suggested by the Lord. He guarantees the result. There is no doubt. Shall I continue, Prabhuji?
Thank you so much, Balaji. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think this should be good enough. There are some important points here to discuss. So, first of all, you all are able to hear me without any breaks, right? Or is there any lag that you all are experiencing?
Not now.
There is no lag, Prabhuji.
It's fine, Prabhuji.
Because I see that a lot of your voices are breaking actually. So, am I audible very clearly, or maybe
Yes,
I can switch my...
Voice is clear, Prabhuji.
Okay, no, fine. That's okay. So, yeah, we saw some very important things here. That first thing, what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita is Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tyajatya Ante Kalevaram Tam Tam Evaiti Kaunteya Sada Tad Bhava Bhavita. That means whatever state of being one remembers when he quits the present body, in his next life, he will attain that state without fail. Okay, so that is the reason why in the last session I said that at Krishna consciousness, we do not teach the art of living. We teach the art of dying, right? Because that is the ultimate final exam, the time of death, the time at which we are quitting our body, that is our ultimate final exam. And our consciousness at that time will determine what kind of body I'm going to have in my next life. Okay, whether I will stay in this material world or whether I will be able to successfully transfer myself to the spiritual world, back home, back to Krishna. Okay, now if, as Prabhupada is saying here, that there are so many things around us which actually enables us to, condition our thoughts and channelize our thoughts towards the material energy, right? For example, newspapers are there, magazines are there, novels are there. These days, TVs are there, Netflix and whatnot. So many things. So continuously, so whatever we see, when we try to understand how our mind works, okay, according to the Vedic science, basically, okay, then we'll come to know that whatever we do, whatever we watch, whatever we hear, they all have a subtle impact on our mind, okay, and our mind actually kind of just grabs them. It's just like a computer which is trying to gather all the information from all possible places. Okay, so we may be watching some stupid serial, or maybe something which is some abominable things are being shown on the TV, and maybe the movies which are made these days, you see there's so much of violence and illicit things are being shown there. So uh, a person may say that, okay, I am just watching this movie for entertainment, for the sake of entertainment, right? But we do not realize one thing, that our mind is continuously, kind of processing that information, which is being like displayed in front of us. Okay, so it actually impacts our consciousness. So that is the reason why maybe after watching a particular TV serial or a movie, generally if you go to bed, more often than not, you will be end up having dreams which are somewhat similar to the situations that you saw in the movie. Okay, so this is one of the aspects of the subconscious mind. So if we just imagine, if we flood our mind with all these nonsensical informations, which are there in maybe newspapers, magazines, TVs, internet, and all those things, what will be our consciousness at the time of death? Okay, do you really think that it will be possible for us to remember Krishna at that point of time? We will remember about any Tom, Dick, and Harry, anything at that point of time, but for Krishna. Okay. So until unless we practice Krishna consciousness very seriously, we cannot condition our consciousness in such a way that we are able to remember Krishna at the time of death. That is the reason why chanting is so important, and that is the reason why we lay so much stress on chanting. Okay. So, and Krishna, clearly says that, and Prabhupada is mentioning here that there is no nothing, there is nothing which can stop us, from attaining Krishna. It's just that our determination is required, because there is so much of literatures are there. Vyasdeva has given us so many, literatures to read. 4 Vedas are there. I mean, it will be, a superhuman act if a person in Kali Yuga tries, I mean, finishes and understands even one Veda. What to speak about 4, right? And Ved Vyas was fully cognizant of this fact that in Kali Yuga people will be dull-headed. Okay, so what he did is that he divided those Vedas into 18 Puranas and 108 Upanishads. Okay, and Bhagavad Gita is also one of those Upanishads. Okay, so there's so much to read, so much to learn, basically, right? And at ISKCON, there is no scarcity of books and literatures, right? You can just walk into your nearest center, and people will be more than happy to, flood you with different kinds of literatures. Okay, and Prabhupada has done so much for us. Like he took the trouble of translating all those Sanskrit verses into English and Hindi and so many other languages, and it's there today, right? And another important point, what Prabhupada mentions here, is that Puranas, and for less capable people, Vedas wrote Mahabharata. Right? Some people even say that Mahabharata is a fifth Veda, basically. Why? Because Bhagavad Gita is a part of that. But actually, if you see, Bhagavad Gita is considered as an Upanishad. Okay, Gita Upanishad. That's what we say. So less capable people mean, like it's not. It doesn't mean that people who are less intelligent or maybe dumb people. No, less capable people means that in those times, not everyone used to go to a gurukul to get siksha from a spiritual master. Okay, and then ultimately he was given the diksha. After completing the siksha. So there was strict varnashram system which was being followed in the previous eras, and this entire society was divided into four varnas. And this division is done by God Himself, Krishna Himself. Krishna Himself confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam. That means I am the creator of the four varnas. Unfortunately, today in Kali Yuga, what happens is that this varnashram system is completely gone, and the caste system that you see today is basically a very, very distant and a distorted remnant of varnashram system. Okay, varnashram system. What happened that according to the capabilities of a person, they were divided into these four classes. Okay, like for example, if an individual, not by birth, okay, uh, by the capabilities of an individual, an individual exhibited the capabilities of a Brahmana, right? Maybe that the interest in learning the Vedas, like non-violence, patience, tolerance, all these are the qualities of a Brahmana. If an individual was exhibiting these qualities, then like they were put into the Brahmana category. Similarly, like bravery in war, or that administrative nature. These are the qualities of a Kshatriya, right? So if anyone was displaying those characteristics, then they were put as Kshatriya, right? So in the Varnashram system, the Shudras and the women basically they were they didn't go to a Gurukul to take formal siksha. Women, like if at all they wanted to take siksha, they were given, but there was maybe an acharya used to come at home, and there they would impart the siksha, but they generally didn't go to the Gurukul and had the complete like knowledge of Vedas and everything. Okay, so for them, Ved Vyas wrote Mahabharata so that they can also read the Bhagavad Gita, they can also get enlightened, with that. But here in Kali Yuga, like everyone is a Shudra. Okay, this Varnashram system has gone for a toss, and therefore it is said Kalo Shudra Sambhava. That means everyone is a Shudra in Kali Yuga. Okay, so but just by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and like in whatever he has given, the books that he has given, anyone and everyone can have easy access to his books, to all the Vedic literatures, and we can just enlighten ourselves with divine knowledge. Okay, especially that the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so this is the sum and substance of this particular paragraph. I see Sridevi Mataji raising her hand. Mataji will take the questions towards the end, so please note it down, and definitely I'll take your question. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we have to read from here. Can we? Okay, Samanvita Mataji, if you can read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
तस्मात् सर्वेषु कालेषु माम् अनुस्मर युध्य च मयि अर्पिता मनोबुद्धि माम् एवश्यसि असंशयम्. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time continue your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. He does not advise Arjuna simply to remember him and give up his occupation. No, the Lord never suggests anything impractical. In this material world, in order to maintain the body, one has to work. Human society is divided according to work into four divisions of social order: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. The Brahmana class or intelligent class is working in one way, the Kshatriya or administrative class is working in another way, and the mercantile class and the laborers are all tending to their specific duties. In the human society, whether one is a laborer, merchant, administrator, or farmer, or even if one belongs to the highest class and is a literary man, a scientist, or a theologian, he has to work in order to maintain his existence. The Lord therefore tells Arjuna that he need not give up his occupation, but while he is engaged in his occupation, he should remember Krishna. Mam Anushmara. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death. Lord Chaitanya also advises this. He says, Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should practice chanting the names of the Lord always. The names of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. So Lord Krishna's instructions to Arjuna to remember me and Lord Chaitanya's injunction to always chant the names of Lord Krishna are the same instruction. There is no difference because Krishna and Krishna's names are non-different. In the absolute status, there is no difference between reference and referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting his names and molding our lives' activities in such a way that we can remember him always.
Oh,
That's all.
yeah, that's nice, Mataji. Thank you so much. So some very important points to note here, right? Firstly, that you need not give up your occupation. Okay, like a lot of people, when they say, they see the ISKCON devotees, especially us when, when we are wearing dhoti kurta and, going to different ISKCON programs, right? They simply like they have a I don't know from where this misconception came, without getting into the details or the intricacies of how a particular organization works. You simply have a predefined, conception or a notion about that place. Okay, like what? So they think that okay, if you join ISKCON, then you will have to shave your head. To give up your family and everything. Okay, but that is not the case. There are grihasthas also at ISKCON who are actually, like carrying out their day-to-day activities. Like we are going to office. We also have kids who are going to schools. Okay, and we are living a normal life, so-called normal life, in terms of the society today, right? We haven't gave up anything. We haven't given up anything. Okay, so this is something to understand basically that you don't have to give up your occupation. Arjun was a warrior, like he was a person belonging to the royal class. He was an administrator, a kshatriya, right? What happened after hearing the Bhagavad Gita? Did he go to the forest and did he renounce everything and go to the forest and started meditating? No, he remained a kshatriya even after hearing the Bhagavad Gita, right? So this is something which we have to understand. Okay, we do not have to give up our occupational duties. Just that while working, we have to train our minds in such a way that we are continuously thinking for Krishna. Okay, like for example, if I am writing code at office, like I do not continuously write code, right? Especially HRs are after us. There is a department known as Human Resources Department, HR, right? They keep on telling us that okay, you have to sit straight, and after every 1 hour you take a 10 minutes break. That will prevent you from the burnout, basically, right? So fine, for during that 10 minutes break, you can think of Krishna, right? You just to look here and then. Anyways, in Kali Yuga, the attention span of any individual is not more than that of 10 minutes, right? What to speak of 1 hour, right? So after every 10 minutes, you just chant Hare Krishna. Okay, that is how you do that. Okay. So no need to give up your prescribed duties or your occupational duties which are there. You just what you have to do is to surrender, like give that the results of those activities to Krishna. Okay, just to say that okay, whatever I have done, it's offered to you, Krishna. Like that. Do not expect anything from anyone after that. So this is what Krishna says. Another very important thing is that while he is engaged in his occupation, he should remember Krishna. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death, right? Because see, just imagine situation of Arjun, right? Krishna is asking Arjun to remember him. Now, a battlefield is, I don't think that it's a very comfortable place where, you can sit and remember Krishna very nicely, right? I mean, it is anything but a comfortable place. People, more than one people are actually, trying very hard to kill you, are ready to fight and kill you immediately, right? In such a situation, how can you remember Krishna, right? But Krishna is actually encouraging Arjun to do that. right? Just think about me and fight. This is what he's saying. So if Arjun can do that on the battlefield, then I think our lives are much easier compared to that of Arjun. Our situations are much easier compared to that of Arjun, right? What will happen? Like max to max, we sit in an air-conditioned office in front of a laptop or a computer, right? And that is what we do, right? Most of us, at least here in Bangalore. Some of the marketing folks who have the field work, they have to run around. Yes, physical labor is also there. Some other people are there, but then just imagine that no condition is that adverse where you cannot remember Krishna. Just to compare your situation with that of Arjun, right? He was on a battlefield, people were ready to kill him, and those people were none other than his own relatives, right? So, what can be more difficult than that? So, even in difficult circumstances, if you are able to remember Krishna, then there is every likelihood that during the time of death, you will be able to remember Krishna. If you are not able to remember Krishna in your day to day life, day to day activities, when you are struggling for your existence, then it will be very difficult for us to remember Krishna at the time of death. This is what Krishna is saying here. So yes, this is a very important way. Okay. So next, Shweta Mataji, if you can read from this.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. Hare Krishna. How is this possible? The Acharyas give the following example. If a married woman is attached to another man, or if a man has an attachment for a woman other than his wife, then the attachment is to be considered very strong. One with such an attachment is always thinking of the loved one. The wife who is thinking of her lover is always thinking of meeting him, even while she is carrying out her household chores. In fact, she carries out her household work even more carefully so her husband will not suspect her attachment. Similarly, we should always remember the supreme lover, Sri Krishna, and at the same time perform our material duties very nicely. A strong sense of love is required here. If we have a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then we can discharge our duty and at the same time remember Him. But we have to develop that sense of love. Arjuna, for instance, was always thinking of Krishna. He was the constant companion of Krishna, and at the same time, he was a warrior. Krishna did not advise him to give up fighting and go for the forest to meditate. When Lord Krishna delineates the yoga system to Arjuna, Arjuna says that the practice of the system is not possible for him. We have a sloka
Thank you
here.
so much,
Like
Mataji.
Arjuna
So yes,
Uvacha.
yeah, no, yeah, okay, Mataji. Like we can just proceed after some time. Because there is a very
Okay.
nice example, Prabhupada has given here of the attachment of a married man to some other woman or a married woman to some other man, right? And just see how foresighted our acharyas were, right? They were like very clear that this is this situation is going to happen in society, in the forthcoming years, and that is the reason why they have cited this example. And just to testify their reading of the direction in which this whole society was going. A few years back, like this is the pre-COVID time, I was reading a newspaper and I came across an article there that in Bangalore, what are the most number of cases in a police station? Like they collected some data from all a few police stations, and they were just trying to analyze that what are the most, the top most cases which are there. So surprisingly, it was not robbery, it was not theft, it was not murder, and of course, it was not rash driving. When you think of Bangalore, the first thing that comes in your mind because of the Bangalore traffic is rash driving. Okay, but even that was not there, right? The most most number of cases which were there were the number of divorce cases. Why? Because of some extramarital affair which was going on. Either wife was not satisfied by the her current husband, or the husband was not satisfied by his current wife. Okay? So this is the situation today. And just see, our acharyas were so foresighted that they have given this nice example, and that when someone is in that kind of a relationship, obviously they are just thinking about the other person. Okay, so what Prabhupada is mentioning here, that instead of doing such an abominable act, why not just transfer your consciousness to Krishna? If you really want to think about someone, why not think about Krishna with the same attachment and same love? Okay. Once we start doing that, then we will not only purify ourselves, but we'll purify all the other people who are, associated with us. In Srimad Bhagavatam, when Narsingh Dev killed Hiranyakashipu, and then he was very angry. So, and none of the Devis and Devtas, had the courage or had the what to say, the audacity to come in front of him just to pacify him, right? So Lord Brahma asks Prahlad Maharaj to, just go and pacify Narsimdev. He said that, okay, since you are his pure devotee, and I'm pretty sure that he will listen to you, so please go ahead and just ask him to calm down. Because if he remains angry like this, he's going to put an end to the entire creation in no time, right? So Prahlad Maharaj goes to Narsimdev and offers very nice prayers, right? And ultimately, Narsimdev is pacified and he wants to give a benediction to Prahlad Maharaj. He says that ask what you want to ask. Okay. So Prahlad Maharaj says that I don't want anything because I only want to serve you with my whole heart and soul. But I sometimes really feel that since my father was, such a, what to say, a sinful person, right? So sometimes I'm little concerned about his future, that what's going to happen. Like, if is he going to go to hell, or what's. And obviously the followers of my fathers are also very sinful people, and they are also some of them are also my family members, right? So I'm a little concerned about them, that what will happen to them. So Narsimdev assures him that you don't worry. Even if there is a single pure devotee in a family, 21 generations of that particular family are liberated. Okay, I give them the liberation, or at least a very high destination. Okay, even if they are very sinful. Just if, even they render one small service unto you, they will be considered, a candidate for liberation. So just imagine, he's such a kind, personality, Krishna. That is why we say, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Deen Bandhu Jagatpate, Gopesh Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namaste. Right? So instead of thinking about any mundane activity, person, place, animal, or thing, like, why not, just transfer our consciousness to Krishna, and that will help us to attain him at the time of death. Right? This is what this particular paragraph says, and a beautiful example is cited, which is very foresighted example, given by Srila Prabhupada. This is actually happening today in our society. Okay, Shrita Mataji, you can continue this part also.
Yes, Prabhu. Yoyam yoga. 1 second, Prabhu. Just I'll get my book. I was reading from my book. Yeah. Arjuna Uvacha Yoyam yoga Svaya Prokta Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham na Pashyami Chanchalatvat Sthiram. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the
Yes.
system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Bhagavad Gita 6.33 sloka. But the Lord says, Yoginam api sarvesham madghata gatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam sa me yuktatamo mataha. Of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, is the most intimately united with me in yoga, and is the highest of all. That is my opinion, says in Bhagavad Gita 6.47 sloka. So, one who thinks of the Supreme Lord always is the greatest yogi, the supermost jnani, and the greatest devotee at the same time. The Lord further tells Arjuna that as a Kshatriya, he cannot give up his fighting. But if Arjuna fights remembering Krishna, then he will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. But one must be completely surrendered in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. We work not with our
Yes, that should
body.
be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that's fine,
Prabhu.
Mataji.
Yeah, okay, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare
Yeah, it's
Krishna.
okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hare Krishna. So yes, some very nice things like here I wanted to discuss here, the comparative account of the Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga is given. Okay, and what is Krishna's opinion towards the end? Okay, see, it doesn't matter what we think, what you think, or what anyone else thinks. Okay, ultimately, all that matters is what Krishna thinks. What is his opinion on a particular subject matter? Okay. So we see a lot of yoga studios all around, right? I mean, they twist and turn the body, try some breathing exercises. Yes, they all are indeed very good for your physical well-being. Okay, but yoga doesn't is not only that basically. Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that when a person gives up all the attachment towards the activities that he or she is performing, okay, and is situated in that frame of mind consistently for a longer period of time, okay, then that is known as yoga or samadhi, okay. And this yoga basically that you see, that people exercising and like twisting and turning their bodies, basically this is just one aspect of yoga, right? Yoga is actually the meditation or this asanas that we do are basically one aspect, and it actually comprises of 8 stages. Okay, which is known. That is the reason why it is known as Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga, right? 8 stages are there, and it starts with Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. Okay, these are the 8 stages. So yam and niyam are basically do's and don'ts. Okay, and the right way to practice this Ashtanga yoga is that for at least 10 or 12 years, the person should go to a secluded place, maybe a forest if possible. Okay, get a small piece of land or somewhere, somewhere in the forest, you should build a kutia or something like that. The sanctified place, basically. That place should be, purified with maybe washed nicely with water and, like remove all the dirts and garbage is removed from there. And, that place is basically sanctified place. Some dhoop and agarbattis and all those things are offered there so that it becomes pure, and there he should sit on an asana. This is what Krishna is saying about Ashtanga Yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. There he should prepare an asana which is neither too high nor too low. On that asana, he should put a deer skin. Okay. On top of the deer skin, he should put a piece of cloth, and then he should sit comfortably with the spine straight and try to look at the tip of the nose. Okay, with half closed eyes. And in that state, he should remember Krishna or Vishnu. That is the thing that we have to do. Now, for 10 and 12 years, first you have to go to this place, and then you have to, and mind you, you have to practice absolute celibacy, during this time. No thoughts of any material thing, material person, opposite gender is absolutely forbidden. Okay. So, in this age of Kali Yuga, who is capable of doing this? When a person like Arjun is saying that this yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and undurable for me. Now, those of you who don't know the qualities of Arjun, let me just summarize who Arjun was exactly. Okay. Now, Arjun was a personality who defeated Indra in a battle. Okay. And Indra was so pleased that he invited him personally to heavenly planet and just to give him some celestial weapons. Okay. The Divyastras, basically, right? And how to use them. He equaled Lord Shiva in a battle. Lord Shiva was so happy that he gave him the Pashupatastra, which is the most deadliest weapon in the entire creation. It can bring an end to this entire creation in no time. Okay, it is even more deadlier than Brahmastra. Right. So he gave him. He was the possessor of that, Arjun. And when Arjun went to the Swargloka to learn those, how to use those celestial weapons which were given to him by Indra, there was a beautiful Apsara known as Urvashi. Like she approached him and she wanted to physically unite with Arjun. Okay, and she gave that proposal. She made that proposal. She made that offer to him. But just imagine the kind of control Arjun had on his mind and on his senses. He simply said that I look at you as my mother. I can't even think of having a relationship with you. I'm already a married man. Now, mind you, this celestial damsels or apsaras, they are not like ordinary women that you see. Like even the most beautiful woman, like cannot even be compared to the beauty of an apsara. Even if you take the most beautiful characteristics of all the women on the Earth planetary system, this is just Earth is one planet. There are several other planets in the Earth planetary system, right? You take all the beautiful women And all the most beautiful aspects, you combine them together. It is said that that beauty will not even match the toenail of an apsara. So you can just imagine what kind of beauty the apsara possesses. Basically, any apsara possesses, right? To that apsara, Arjun is saying that I look at you as my mother. I can't even think of having a relationship with you because I'm already a married man. That is the kind of control he had on his mind and on his senses. Now, if that kind of a personality is saying that the yoga system that you have summarized here appears impractical and undurable, does any one of you sitting here think that Arjun did not have enough capability to control his mind? Anyone? I don't think so, right? So now, if that kind of personality is saying that this yoga system is impractical and undurable for me, just imagine where do we people who are the, you know, what to say, who exist in this fallen age of Kali Yuga with so many, what to say, kalmash in our hearts, right? Where do we stand? Our attention span is not less than that of, is not more than that of 10 minutes, correct? So how can we even think of performing this yoga or meditation or any other practices? Okay. So we are simply wasting our time. And this whole teaching that is given in these yoga studios, that you, how do you meditate? You just sit in an asana, maybe Padmasana or Sukhasana, right? And just think of nothing. How can anyone think of nothing? So this whole concept itself is flawed. Okay, like no one in this age of Kali Yuga is qualified to perform Ashtanga Yoga. Even if they do, they maybe one or two stages they can go, and then after two or three stages, you start getting some siddhis. Okay, there are 8 types of siddhis. You can become lighter than a feather. You can become heavier than the most heaviest metal. You can create your own planet. These kind of siddhis are there. So some people, they just get carried away by that. There are actually, sadhus and all, some babas are there who have attained those siddhis. Some not 8, but at least 1 or 2, right? And they start doing, they start demonstrating their capabilities to general public, and people are just being crazy after them. They are just flocking his ashram, I mean, like anything. So uh, this Ashtanga yoga is basically what Krishna is also then is saying here, that it's very, very impractical in this age of Kali Yuga. And clearly he says in the shloka, yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajte yomam same yukta tamamata. All yogis, one with faith, great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, renders transcendental loving service to me. All these are what? Qualities of a devotee, right? So he's saying Bhakti Yoga is better and it's easier, basically. See, Srila Prabhupada used to say that this Bhakti Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, they are just, like for example, in a multi-story building, a skyscraper building, there are staircases and there is an elevator, right? Choice is yours, what you have to take. Yes, if you want to go by the stairs, if you want to take the stairs, you are free to do so, right? If you will go, I mean, if you want to go to the 20th floor, yes, you can climb up to the 20th floor, but that will be time taking as well as very tedious, right? It will take a toll on your body, right? But elevator can just, like skyrocket you on 20th floor in no time, correct? And the amount of effort is also less. You just need to step into the elevator. That's all, right? So this Bhakti Yoga is just like that elevator, whereas the Dhyana Yoga or the Ashtanga Yoga, which I said about, it's basically taking the staircases. And there are a lot of distractions on each and every floor, mind you, right? When the siddhis start coming, even the best of the yogis, they get carried away by that. Okay, so better just surrender yourself to Krishna. Let Krishna take care of you, and Krishna does take care of his devotees. Okay, Yogakshemam Mahamyam. That's what Krishna's promise is there in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So we'll continue. Maybe today we will extend the session by 5, 10 minutes, or maybe 15 minutes because it's already 6:15. But I just want to finish off with the introduction today, so we can just quickly, um, read out. Who wants to go next? Vasavi Mataji, would you like to read? Okay, Sridevi Mataji is there. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead. Start reading.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
We work not with our body actually, but with our mind and intelligence. So if intelligence and the mind are always engaged in thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally the senses are also engaged in his service superficially. At least the activities of the senses remain the same, but the consciousness is changed. The Bhagavad Gita teaches one how to observe the mind and intelligence in thought of the Lord. Such absorption will enable one to transfer himself to the kingdom of the Lord. If the mind is engaged in Krishna service, then the senses are automatically engaged in his service. This is the art, and this is also the secret of the Bhagavad Gita. Total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna. Modern modern man has struggled very hard to reach the moon, but he has not tried very hard to elevate himself spiritually. If one has 50 years of life ahead of him, he should engage that brief time in cultivating this practice of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This practice is the devotional process. Sarvanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Can you scroll down, Prabhuji?
Varanam.
Okay. Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Asyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam.
Sakhyam.
These 9 processes, Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. These 9 processes, of which the easiest is Sarvanam, hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the realized person, will turn one Shravanam. Hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the realized person will turn one to the thought of Supreme Being. This will lead to remembering the Supreme Lord and will enable one, upon leaving the body, to attain a spiritual body which is just fit for association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord further says, you want me to continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Can you please? Yeah. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nayana gamina paramam purusham divyam yati parat parthan chintan. He who meditates on me as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Arjuna, is sure to reach me. This is not very difficult process, however, one must learn it from an experienced person. Tad which vignan artham. Is that right, Prabhuji? Tad vignan artham. So gurum eva big gachet. One must approach One must approach a person who is already in practice. The mind is always flying to this and that, but one must practice concentrating the mind always on the form of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, or on the sound of his name. The mind is naturally restless, going hither and thither, but it can rest in the sound vibration of Krishna. One must thus meditate on Paramam Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual sky, and thus attain Him. The ways and the means for ultimate realization, ultimate attainment are stated in Bhagavad Gita. And the doors of this knowledge are open for everyone. No one is bad out. All classes of men can approach Lord Krishna by thinking of Him, for hearing and thinking of Him are possible for everyone.
Yes, that should be enough, Mataji. Yeah. So I think nothing much to explain here. Like minds, so 9 processes of bhakti are given. Okay, the angas of bhakti basically: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. This was given by none other than Prahlad Maharaj. Okay. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 23 is actually, telling that these are the 9 angas of bhakti, basically. So yes, and out of these, Shravanam is the most easiest, basically, right? Just listen from a bona fide person. That's it. Listen the Bhagavad Gita, read the commentaries, and maybe there is no, better preacher than Srila Prabhupada, right? He has written everything down in his purport, and he has said that, even after I quit this body, I leave this, material place, I'll stay with all of you in the form of my books. Okay, so he has just written down everything. So many lectures are there. You can just read the books. You can just listen to the lectures, and you will be fully enlightened, right? So Shravanam is the most easiest of them. And even while chanting, when you chant the names of Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shravanam and Kirtanam you are doing simultaneously. You are chanting. Why? Because you are taking the names of the Lord, and at the same time you are hearing that. So this is an easy process, right? It's a simple process, but not easy, basically, because not everyone can take to it. Okay. So in this way, we'll be able to always, focus on the form of the Lord. Yes.
Shravanam is what we are doing right now, Prabhuji, every Saturday.
Yes, that is also Shravanam. Yeah, that is also Shravanam. Yeah. And okay. What I'll do is maybe I can read and try to just finish off. The Lord further says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, 32nd and 33rd verse, Mamhi Partha Vyapasritya Yepi Sorry?
Shall I read?
Yeah, you can read, Mataji.
Yeah.
Please.
Hare Krishna. The Lord further says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9.3233, Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepi shu papa yo naha स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्राश् तेपि यान्ति परां गतिम् किं पुनर्ब्राह्मणा पुण्या भक्तराजर्षयस्तथा अनित्यम् अशुखं लोकम् इमं प्राप्य भजस्व माम्. Thus the Lord says that even a merchant, a fallen woman or a laborer, or even human beings in the lowest status of life can attain the supreme. One does not need highly developed intelligence. The point is that anyone who accepts the principle of Bhakti Yoga and accepts the Supreme Lord as the summum bonum of life, as the highest target, the ultimate goal, can approach the Lord in the spiritual sky. If one adopts the principles enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, he can make his life perfect and make a permanent solution to all the problems of life. This is the sum and substance of the entire Bhagavad Gita. In conclusion, Bhagavad Gita is a transcendental literature which one should read very carefully. Gita Shastram idam punyam yaha pathet prayatah pumad. If one properly follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all the miseries and anxieties of life. Bhaya Shokadi Varjita. One will be freed from all fears in this life, and one's next life will be spiritual. This is also stated in Gita Mahatmya chapter 1. There is also a further advantage. Gita Dhyayana Silasya Pranayama Parasya cha Naiva Shantihi Papani Purva Janma Kritani cha. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very nice, sincerely, and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him. Gita Mahatmya chapter 2. The Lord says very loudly in the last portion of Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18, verse number 66, Sarva Dharman Paritajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Mahasuchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Thus the Lord takes all responsibility for one who surrenders unto him, and he indemnifies such a person against all reactions of sins. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Yeah, Mother, you can just finish it off. I think there is not much left now.
Okay. Mala nirmochanam pumsham jala snanam dine dine shakrat gitamrita snanam samshara mala nashanam. One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in water, but if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. Gita su Gita kartavya kim anhe shastra vishtarai या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मान् विनिश्रता. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just
Just a second, Mataji. I think
Yeah.
I messed it up.
No problem, no problem. I think
Yeah, here, yeah.
Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literatures. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literatures and especially because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. As it is said, Bharatamrita Sarvasham Sharvaswam Vishnu Vaktrad Vinishratam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punar Janmana Vidyate. One who drinks the water of the Ganges attains salvation. So, what to speak of one who drinks the nectar of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the essential nectar of the Mahabharata and it is spoken by Lord Krishna himself, the original Vishnu. Bhagavad Gita comes from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Ganges is said to emanate from the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Supreme Lord, but from an impartial study, we can appreciate that Bhagavad Gita is even more important than the water of the Ganges. Sarva Upanishado Gavo, Dogdha Gopala Nandana, Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta, Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat. This Gita Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads, is just like a cow. And Lord Krishna, who is famous as a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and the learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam, Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. Eko Mantrastasya Namani Yani Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. In this present day, people are very much eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion, and one occupation. Therefore, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam. Let there be one scripture only, one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. Let there be one God for the whole world, Sri Krishna. Eko Mantras Tasya Namani, and one hymn, one mantra, one prayer, the chanting of his name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Karmapi ekam tasya devasya seva. And let there be one work only, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The
Thank you so much, Mataji. Wow.
Very
So,
nice, Prabhuji. Hari
yeah, no,
Thank
not
you
required,
so much.
Mataji. I think.
Yes,
yeah.
thank you so much. It was a nice.
So we have just finished the. Yeah, we have just finished the introduction part of the Bhagavad Gita, and towards the end, some of the glories of Bhagavad Gita has been given. The references have been cited from the Gita Mahatmya, right? And the essence of all these shlokas that we just read is basically that Bhagavad Gita is the sum and substance of all the Vedic literatures. Okay, like if we don't need to read the four Vedas, the 18 Puranas, 108 Upanishads. Like no one is qualified in this age of Kali Yuga to do that, right? And as we have seen earlier, that Mahabharata was written by Ved Vyas for the less intelligent people. And each and every single person in this age of Kali Yuga is the less intelligent, right? And you know what? Like if you read the Bhagavad Gita and compare it, the Sanskrit language that is being used, in the Bhagavad Gita compared to Srimad Bhagavatam or maybe Brahma Samhita or any other literature, Bhagavad Gita is the easiest one. Trust me on that. Like, I still have problems reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, the shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? It is, little difficult basically, right? So it's easy and it is summarized. Just you need to know what you need to know, and then just you need to follow what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita. And just by doing that, like you'll go back home, back to Godhead, right? So, and like even Krishna like confirmed, like we have seen in the previous verses, in one of the verses it was cited that Yoginam api sarvesham, right? So that was one thing. There is another verse very nicely where Krishna is actually promising, that he will, bring back the devotee. Like he gives them the intelligence basically through which the devotees can go back to him, right? And it is like Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 10th verse, if I'm not wrong. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajtam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamu priyanti te. Right? That Tesham satata yuktanam, those who are continuously engaged. Continuously engaged in what? Bhajtam priti purvakam, in chanting my names with pure love and devotion. Okay? Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I give them the intelligence. Yen mamu piyantite, through which they can come back to me. Right? So Krishna is promising basically that, okay, you just keep chanting the names of Sri Krishna, and then you'll go back home, back to Krishna. Right? This is the Yug Dharma of Kali Yuga. Right? Not possible for us to perform, some opulent fire sacrifices, which people used to do in the Treta Yuga, because we don't have the pure ingredients that were used in those fire sacrifices. We don't have the qualified brahmanas, to perform those sacrifices. Brahmanas of those days used to light the sacrificial fire just by chanting the Vedic hymns. They didn't need any matchstick or any other source of fire to, light the fire. Where do we get those kind of brahmanas today? There's no one there, right? Similarly, we do not have the kind of lifespan which people of Satyuga used to have. The Yug Dharma of Satyuga was to perform meditation on the form of Krishna or Vishnu, right? And for thousands of years they used to meditate, because the lifespan of people of Satyuga was 1 lakh years, basically, right? So in 1 lakh years, they used to spend around 10,000, 20,000 years just meditating. Can we do that in Kali Yuga? No. We can't even leave our phone for 10 minutes, smartphone for 10 minutes. What to speak about, meditating for years together, right? It's not possible for us. So that is the reason why the acharyas were very merciful. Krishna was very merciful. Krishna is very merciful, basically. Like, they all knew that people of Kali Yuga will be the least qualified and very dull-headed, basically. Even if they chant the name, that should be good enough to purify them. And just look around how many people are doing that, right? Just have to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. To chant one round of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, a newcomer may take 7.5 minutes, right? As you progress in Krishna consciousness, this time will reduce from 7.5 to maybe 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes. So that means maximum if you're chanting, say, 2 rounds in a day, maximum you're looking at 15 minutes, right? People are not even willing to give that 15 minutes to Krishna, right? What to speak of, performing fire sacrifices and meditation. So, and similarly, we cannot expect them to read all the Vedic literatures which are there. So there are 4 Vedas, 18 Puranas, 108 Upanishads. Not possible at all, sir. Not possible at all, right? The only thing that we can do is just stick to Bhagavad Gita. That is the essence of all the Vedic literatures. And yes, we can just go back home, back to Godhead, right? That's the simple process, but it's not easy. That's what. So that brings us to the end of this session. I would now like to open the floor for this for question and answers. I think Sridevi Mataji raised her hand long time back, so I'll give her the first chance, and then others can also join in. You can also share your realizations. Okay, what are the key takeaways? Which are the parts of the purport that you like the most, right? And on which topics would you like to meditate? After going back. So Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead, ask a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I'm not sure. I'm referring to the Mahabharata, which was played in the Z5. Okay, in where there was a conversation between Sri Krishna and Karna during the Chatur Varnamayam. Okay, so there was a discussion saying that Karna was not allowed for any battle. This one saying he was not a born Kshatriya. He is like a Suta Putra. And Krishna was telling that it doesn't go with your birth, it go with your skills. Well, it doesn't really matter. But
exactly.
I feel this Varnan was there even while Krishna was existing on the earth. How do we take that exactly. As Prabhuji? No, I mean to say the casteism, not the Varnas.
No. So casteism is not like that, Mataji. So the difference between the caste system and Varnashram Dharma is that caste system is purely based on the birth of a particular thing. Okay. So at that time, so the reason why, he was not allowed to participate in some military warfare or anything, or in any administrative work, that because he was a son of a charioteer. right? And charioteer were basically Shudras. So yes, you are right in a way that his birth was, coming in that. But then in towards the Dwapar Yuga, the things started becoming a little contaminated. Okay, that is the point where this caste system started creeping in. And that is the reason why Krishna then and there actually objected, right? Because Krishna himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam, that I have created these four divisions of the society so that society can, function properly, right? Each and every section of the society, the Brahmanas, they stick to their business, the Kshatriyas, they stick to their business, Vaishyas, they stick to their business, and similarly the Shudras stick to their business. There will be no discord at all in the society. But the problem is that initially, like everything went well. Like when the students went to the Gurukul, to take the formal siksha and diksha from the spiritual master, the spiritual master actually kept a close eye on each and every disciple of his, right? And then based on the qualities a particular disciple possessed, he used to segregate them, in the different varnas, basically, right? That was how it happened. But slowly, like in the Dwapar Yuga itself, the thing started becoming contaminated because Karna first approached Dronacharya to, like teach him archery and, all the other military warfare art, basically. But Dronacharya rejected him based on his birth, right? Similarly, we know all everything like what happened in Mahabharata. But the Varnashram system is clearly like, Krishna has clearly mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagacha. That means based on guna and karma of an individual, this division has been made. It has nothing to do with the birth, right? Like if I'm born in a Brahmana family, but if I'm consuming alcohol, if I'm consuming non-vegetarian food, if I'm very violent by nature, right? Then what? Like, am I qualified to be called a Brahmana if I have no interest in the Vedic literature? No, right? On the other hand, if a person who is born in a lower family, right, and like he or she is displaying all the qualities of a Brahmana, which is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, then yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also said, right, that one who knows the science of God, he is qualified to become a spiritual master, correct? So there are five things, like five qualifications which one should exhibit in order to become a spiritual master, right? And that is first is that he should have control on the tongue. Okay. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam, jivha vegam udropastha vegam, etan veganyo vishehet dhira, sarvapi mam prithvim sasishya. That means vacho vegam, he should have the control on the tongue, what he speaks, what he or she speaks, right? That is one. Vacho vegam manasa, the control on mind. Krodha vegam, control on the anger. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jivha vegam. That means control on the tongue, that the person should not be eating anything and everything, right? Only sattvic food which has been offered to Krishna and accepting that as Krishna Prasad, right? That is jivha vegam, udaropastha vegam, the urges of the genitals, okay? Now, if five things this person has controlled, then no matter whether he is born in a Brahmin family or he's born in a Shudra family, that doesn't matter. That person is qualified to become a spiritual master and preach the message of Krishna consciousness or preach the message of science of Krishna all over the world. Okay. So yes, you are right in one way that yes, we started to see that a tinge of what to say casteism in Dwapar Yuga itself, and in Kali Yuga it has completely like deteriorated very further, and like there is no varnashram existing. Okay, anyone else who would like to ask any questions, any realizations they would like to share?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sorry, my network got disconnected. I'm really sorry. Thanks for answering it. And I'll be quitting the meeting, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yeah, sure. Okay, we have Shweta Mataji. Please go ahead, Mataji. Yeah.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just recollecting the word like Navavida Bhakti we have discussed today in the class. So actually I'm just eagerly waiting to hear more about Navavida Bhakti, like how we can inculcate that in our daily activities, Prabhuji. So maybe in next session, can you please bring it up at the first
Yes. So
time?
Navavida Bhakti is a very nice, it's a very nice way to basically, engage yourself and, advance nicely on the path of spirituality. See, the reason is that, okay, chanting is also very, very purifying, by the way, okay? Like, there is no question about that. And that is a Yug Dharma of Kali Yuga. So we should all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But the thing is that we are so contaminated, our hearts are so contaminated that this mind actually tricks us in all possible ways to, stop chanting, basically, right? So in order to purify ourselves, in order to cleanse all the dirt which is there in the heart, right, we have to perform this Navvida Bhakti. Okay, and out of that, deity worship is, one of them, right? We have seen. So it starts with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma, Nivedanam. So Archanam and Vandanam, like they go hand in hand, and then, that is one way to cleanse ourselves, basically. Okay. So the best example that you can see was that of Amrish Maharaj. Okay, he engaged all his senses in just directed towards Krishna in all Krishna conscious activities. He was one perfect example of a Krishna conscious person. Okay, how he used to listen only to Krishna Katha or anything pertaining to Krishna. Okay, he did not engage in any mundane things. Like although he was a king, so just as a duty of a king, he used to just dispose of all the duties which were there. But apart from that, whatever time was left, he was always engaged in listening about names, forms, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. Okay, so ears are done. Then similarly, tongue. Okay, he always used to speak about Krishna, and he also always used to take Krishna Prasad. Okay, he used his hands to touch the deities of Krishna or to clean the temples, right? Wherever he used to visit of Krishna. Okay, he used his legs to go to the temples of Krishna. Okay, so he used his eyes to see the beautiful deities of Krishna, right? So in this way, he was engaging all his senses in the service of Krishna. Okay, in the senses in the service of Rishikesh, master of all the senses. Yes. So by doing that, he actually, became a very great devotee to that extent that when Durvasa Muni actually cursed him, Krishna was so angry that he just released Sudarshan Chakra to kill Durvasa, right? Like if you offend Krishna, Krishna will tolerate that. He will even forgive you for that. But you offend a devotee of Krishna, then no one can save you, right? So this is how we can, inculcate this Navvida Bhakti. If you want to read more about it, Mataji, then just you can get the Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, right, from your nearest ISKCON center. You can also order that on gogita.in. So I think you will get it. If you are having difficulties, just let me know. I can also send it to you. Okay. So did I answer your question, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Actually, like I have heard, like when we are doing in our daily routine, like offering water with tulsi and flowers and doing aarti, these
Yes.
and all comes
Yeah, that
under
is a
like
part of Vandanam.
archan, vandanam. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
Archanam, yeah, and Vandanam. Yeah,
vandanam.
comes under that.
Okay.
So yeah, that is the reason why, because it actually purifies us. The deity worship is actually purifies us. Lot of people, they condemn deity worship. That what is the need of deity worship? It's just a picture or just a stone. So, but it's not that. It's Arch Vigrah, right? It's a Archa avatar. It's an avatar of Krishna, right? And if to such people, my reply would be that if you say that God is everywhere, then He's in the deity also, right? So what is the harm in worshiping that? Right? So it actually cleanses you, it purifies you, and it removes all the dirt from your heart, and then this is how you progress in that. Okay, so Sindhu
And
Mataji,
that is the only place where I
yes,
can
Mataji,
engage
please go
my
ahead.
family members also into the service of Krishna Prabhuji. I can ask children to get tulsi
Yeah,
leaves and I can ask them to
absolutely,
offer,
yeah,
yeah, offer
absolutely.
prasadam also. So that's why I
Very
just,
nicely you're doing, Mataji. I think this is how you should be doing, right? Every family member is engaged. You can ask them to clean the altar. You can ask them to bring the tulsi leaves. You can ask them to pour the water in the glass of Krishna, right? And then maybe offering you can do, but then these activities you can engage different family members. Very nice. I'm very happy to hear that, Mataji. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I just thought to get more information, like what and all I can make the family members also like to follow. At least that's the first step, right, Prabhu? If we take the first step, obviously Krishna will come like with 100 steps towards us. So I
Yes.
strongly believe in
100
that.
steps towards it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you
So
so much,
much.
Mataji. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Sindhu Mataji, you can go next. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Is Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita the same?
Mhm.
Hello?
I can't hear you, Mataji. Can you please repeat again? Yeah.
Is Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita the same?
Mhm. No, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are not the same, Mataji. Bhagavad Gita actually speaks about greatness of Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam speaks about the sweetness of Krishna. Okay, the other pastimes of Krishna. So it so happened that we all know that Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, basically, right? Just before Kurukshetra war, uh, Arjun was bewildered after seeing his own relatives in the battlefield who were, they're basically opponents. And he became very, very anxious and nervous. Basically, he didn't want to fight. And he wanted to just leave the battlefield and go to some forest and, live a life of an ascetic right over there. But Krishna actually then, gives the knowledge, the eternal knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, and, he's enlightened again. So this is all a quick summarization of the background of Bhagavad Gita. Srimad Bhagavatam, basically how it came into existence, how it came into existence is during when Vyasdev was writing the four Vedas, right? He wrote the four Vedas. He compiled the Puranas. He compiled the Upanishads, but still he was not satisfied, right? He was feeling that okay, something is missing. Like what is there? Like there is something more which I have to offer, but he was not able to figure out that what was that missing link actually. Okay, so he approached his spiritual master, none other than Sri Narad Muni. Okay, and Narad Muni actually told him that, see, whatever you have written in the Ved, Puran, and Shastras, they are all just Vedic knowledge that you have given. But where have you glorified the Lord? Where have you given the sweetness of the Lord? Right? You have not written it anywhere. So you do one thing, you compile a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and you just tell about all the nice pastimes, sweet pastimes, and so that just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, people should fall in love with Krishna. Okay, like that. So then Vyasdev realized, okay, I need to do something, and then he actually compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, where he gives the different pastimes of Krishna, his different incarnations, all the major incarnations, and so one who reads these, this Srimad Bhagavatam, they will, especially the 10th canto, but I would not recommend to straight away jump to the 10th canto. Start with the first canto, and then you'll slowly fall in love with Krishna. Definitely. So this is the difference. Did I answer your question, Mataji?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Ishita Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I actually had two questions. The first one being, am I audible?
Yeah, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay. The first one is, in the verses that we read today, we were mostly talking about focusing on the time of the death, so that while we leave our body, material body, we should be thinking about Krishna.
Absolutely.
But why are we worried about that anyway? Because once we die, I mean, once we leave this body, materialistic body, we are the spirit soul. The spirit soul will not remember what this body have gone through, the happinesses, the miseries. Then why are we bothered about anything? I mean, we can take all that we read as like a user manual. So if we buy some appliances, it comes with a user manual. You read it and follow it. But why is there a requirement to think?
Yes,
of course,
the
if we are
requirement
following whatever.
Yes, so this requirement to think is because for every spirit soul, who takes up this material body, there are a certain do's and don'ts which have been set aside for them. Okay, and that set of do's and don'ts is like summarized very nicely in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, because the reason is that we do not decide, as Srila Prabhupada says, that as spirit souls, we don't decide what is the next body that we are going to get. Okay, it is the higher authorities which are basically in line with Krishna, right? Who will be, deciding. And to be more precise, it will be the Devis and Devatas. And like Yamaraj is the one who actually, gives us a punishment for all the sinful activities that we do. And then, basically it's a Maya Devi or the Durga Devi, right, who actually decides that what our fate will be, depending upon the karma that we have done here. So karma itself is a very complex topic, Mataji, right? And this consciousness is very, very important. Otherwise, like, if we are in the consciousness of an animal, then how can we think that, we are eligible to go to Vaikuntha? In Vaikuntha, the mood over there is just Krishna. Okay, Krishna is the center, and the mood is to serve Krishna. But if we have Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, and Matsarya within us, right, then how? I mean, it's very difficult to give that up. Okay, even for a spirit soul. The very reason why here we are here in this material existence is because we became envious of Krishna at one point of time. Okay, and we wanted to live separately, we wanted to live independently, and wanted to enjoy independently. Okay, so this material world is just like a rehabilitation center, or a kind of an antivirus software, right, which is running in the infected head of ours, right, and the infected consciousness of ours, basically, to clean that consciousness. So until unless we practice this by continuously thinking about Krishna and continuously rendering devotional service to Krishna, we will not be freed from this Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, and Matsarya, right? And until unless we are freed, it's very difficult to attain to the spiritual world. We, yes, with to a certain extent, yeah, we can at max get another human life, right? But if our activities are very, very abominable, then we can like fall down to the lower species of life as well. And worst thing, we can go down to the lowest lower planetary systems, born as asuras or something. So if you're born in a Earth planetary system, even in lower species, there is at least some chance that through evolutionary process, slowly, maybe you will be born as an insect, and you will take a form of a bird, and then animal, and like that, and then finally you will get another human life and another chance to break this cycle. But if you are down there in the hellish planetary system, then I mean, only Krishna, by Krishna's mercy, some devotee like Prahlad Maharaj appears once in several thousands and or millions of years, and then he actually pulls people up from there, basically. So that is the reason why we have to think and we have to purify our consciousness, and that can be done only by chanting and thinking about Krishna at the time of death. You're right that being spirit souls, we are part and parcels of Krishna. We are qualitatively same as Krishna, but the reason is that somehow we have forgotten that relationship. And to reestablish that relationship and to just remove all the dirt which has crept into our consciousness, it is important to think about. Otherwise, it will be eternally trapped here, basically, right? That is the reason why we have to do that. Did I answer your question, Mataji?
Very well explained, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Yeah, if there is any doubt, just please ask. Okay? Do not keep any doubt in your minds, because that will cause hindrance in your spiritual progress, actually. Okay. Anyone else? Sindhu Mataji, I see you unmuted. You also want to ask any questions?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. All right. So I think it's almost 6:50. So we are pretty much over time, but the good part is that we have finished the introduction part of the Bhagavad Gita. Next week onwards, we will officially start the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And important thing to note, I would repeat it in the next session also, that we will not read the entire purport, okay, of of each and every shloka, because if we are doing that, then we will be finishing Bhagavad Gita maybe, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years. What will be that? So we will be reading the shloka, its translation, and some important concepts I will be explaining with the help of the slides. So that will be the format. And of course, if there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Okay. So with that, I would like to end the session for Kripa Sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you so much for attending, and please stay tuned. We are actually embarking a very exciting journey. So join us again next week. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare